EA stopped supporting their great Battlefield games, so you're more likely to buy their modern garbage, so thankfully CD-ROMs exist. I have several copies of Battlefield 1942. They keep showing up in these large hauls I buy. I think it's the universe telling me to finally review this game. I mean, I already did Battlefield 2, so why not? Unlike Battlefield 2, 1942 has full bot support. There's no limitations in the base game, and I didn't need any additional mods or fiddling with config files to get this working properly. I just loaded up the game and picked a map and started playing. Well, almost. It wasn't 100% perfect, but I'll save that for the end. 1942 released in 2002, which out of context doesn't sound right. I had no idea online multiplayer was a thing in 2002. I mean, I was like 6, 7 years old, and I never really played multiplayer till Halo 2, which was a couple years later, so yeah, I've never played this. I picked Iwo Jima and played as the Japanese, and my lord is this game fun. There's a huge void of South Pacific video games. Instead, you get games called Day of Infamy, which is a reference to the Pearl Harbor speech, but no Japanese factions can be found in the game itself. Now, it's fair to point out that this game isn't just the South Pacific, but hey, I'm going to be inclined to click that first. Iwo Jima is one of my favorite parts of researching World War II history, and seeing a map based on it is pretty amazing. Sure, it isn't a one-to-one recreation, but it's better than never being represented at all. I kind of wish they incorporated tunnels somehow, but it'd probably break the competitive balance. The tunnels probably would have caused a lot of issues, and I don't know, probably made capturing the island that much harder, resulting in a less balanced game. Like shooters of its time, there's no customizing a loadout. There are a few classes with specific roles. The skill revolved around being able to use one of the classes effectively instead of finding the most broken loadout setup. The gunplay just screams early 2000s, and I'm okay with it. It doesn't take long to adjust at all, especially if you've played a lot of shooters. Well, except for sniping. Bullet drop and travel time is kind of a staple of modern day shooters, so I find myself leading targets or overcompensating while aiming. That, though, is a very easy thing to fix once you realize that, oh, this is before the whole pseudo-realistic ballistics trend. Pseudo-realistic ballistics. Say that 3 times fast. Pseudo-realistic ballistics. Before you know it, you're the hero of the Imperial Japanese Army. Since you can customize the bottom mount and difficulty, I decided to create a more realistic scenario. I limited the number of Japanese defenders and gave the Americans a huge amount of invaders. This was a crazy game to play. I found myself cheesing the game by using a tank and trying to keep the AI back. Eventually I was pushed away though, but even on the hardest difficulty I managed to fully protect the island even without using a tank the entire time. I played this scenario a ton just to try everything from planes to the aforementioned tanks and various weapons and equipment. I had so much fun playing this one map. It's incredible. I love this game. I love the old Battlefields and bot support. You can have so much fun just treating it as a sandbox game. It's one of the reasons why Arma is so amazing. But obviously it doesn't have the level editing and the customizability that Arma has. But you get what I'm trying to access here. You can just kind of play just for fun and play around and try to recreate famous moments of history. I love it. The bots are competent enough, and they do cause some damage, but of course they aren't perfect. For starters, exploring the massive Iwo Jima map shows how the AI operates. The AI has to be scripted, right? And depending on the developers, it can either be really noticeable or a little unpredictable. There's a couple games with bots where you know, it's not obvious that they're on a set path. Like if you play Counter-Strike Global Offensive, the bots tend to go one way together, and they go that same way over and over and over again, while something in like, I don't know, Call of Duty Black Ops, the bots run around in such a frantic manner that it's kind of hard to predict. In this game, it's a little bit of the Counter-Strike Global Offensive. Exploring a map is pretty hard evidence that the AI are scripted at a very basic level. You can tell that the majority of the AI are meant to go one way, with some being told to go the other. But to be fair, it's the easiest way to program AI. Give them one of 2 paths to take and leave it up to an algorithm to decide who goes where. There's anti-aircraft installations all over the map, and AI will go nowhere near them and won't even man them. They won't really try to take cover. When they get shot at, they go immediately prone no matter what's around them. When I was playing as the Americans, I got some Japanese to run to the barren parts of the map, but they were just responding to my presence. There were a lot of machine guns that the AI wouldn't man either. It's just because they weren't scripted to. I mean, at least they use vehicles. That's okay. And they use them pretty good too. Sometimes they'll steal vehicles from the opposing team, which is, I don't know how to feel about it, but at least it's dynamic, I guess. And if it wasn't obvious earlier, the bots aren't really difficult. When grabbing footage from other maps, so this wasn't 100% Iwo Jima, I noticed even more bot quirks. On Stalingrad, the enemy will not enter buildings, which means I can sit upstairs all day until I decided to leave, where a wall of enemies were trying to find a way in. On El Alamein, I ran in the open desert and was only really shot at until I provoked the enemy. But hey, I'm just glad bots are in the game, and they do pose some form of threat. They're something to shoot at, and they're not just running in a straight line like Red Orchestra 2. It adds to the game. It makes a multiplayer game still alive even long after it's dead. And you can't say the same about Battlefield 3, 4, 5, Hardline, and whatever else releases. Siege. I just wish they had put bots in the game so 10 years from now we can still play them. There's an insane amount of mods for this game, and apparently EA was cool with it back then. I haven't tried any of the mods, and apparently there are single-player improvements, including graphical changes, but I didn't really touch them. The only reason in Battlefield 2 I used the mods is because I had to get the game to work and to add more bots. Apparently you can add more bots in the single-player missions, and I'm going to try that one day because I'd love to have even more Americans invading the island. But, that's for the future and probably on my own time. Point I'm making here is you can play this game just fine out of the box. You didn't need any mods. Also didn't touch the campaign mode, as I'm sure it's just the multiplayer, but with missions and chronological order of how they happened in history. Maybe one day I'll do it for a long play or something. Sounds like something easy I could do. I don't know, I feel like there's so much more to this game, and, I like it. I played a lot of Battlefield 2 on my own, discovering all kinds of cool stuff. I mean, yeah, there's a lot to see. The maps are crazy. There's all sorts of happenings, and the AI in that's a little bit more unpredictable. But this is World War II, and, I like World War II. I do have the expansion packs for 1942, but I don't feel like this would change my review at all. I'm still going to say just get the game. It's fairly cheap on eBay if you just want the discs and not the full box that it came in. As far as multiplayer goes, couldn't test it, but I imagine it's the same with every other old game that used GameSpy. Get a VPN, have your friends connect to it, then host a server. Or everyone can just come physically to your house and get on the same internet, but that's not always possible. Also, as alluded before, this is not a pop it in and start playing kind of game on Windows 10. My Windows 7 machine played it just fine without any patches, but it's Windows 7. You need to download a series of patches given by some random dude on the EA forums with a shady link, but hey, it worked for me. You also have to run everything as admin and make sure to turn on Windows compatibility mode for XP. Some people say admin mode and compatibility mode don't work, but just do it. There may be a better patch than the one I found in the EA forums, probably on ModDB. Just make sure to shop around. If you ever want a guide for installing patches for games, just let me know in the comments. I feel like doing it in the reviews make the videos too long and kind of forget what I'm trying to say here. So I try to keep these reviews kind of short. Summed up, 1942 is an amazing World War II shooter with bot and mod support. With friends, it's probably even better. Pick it up for some good fun. You can really roleplay with this game to the bot number and difficulty sliders. Other than the patches, you don't need any mods to get this game playing really nicely. You might want to get mods if you want full screen support, widescreen support, I mean, and, any other things, quality of life mods you'd like to have. I haven't tried any of them yet, but I will on my own time. Maybe I'll make a follow-up video because, oh my god, there's a ton of mods. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Elijah Blackwell with CD-ROM Fossil, and hey, I'm going to go play some Battlefield 1942. Because I can.